The Raptors called that timeout with 3:05 left. You see the difference from the floor. The threes were made by the Splash Brothers. They didn't miss a shot. Meanwhile, the Raptors made just one basket. Nick Nurse afterwards asked, evidently by one of his own players, about what happened.
I just had a quick question. I wanted to know the thought process behind calling the timeout when we were making a run, while the Raptors were making their run.
Those two we took at 3-minute mark? Yeah, well, we had two free ones that you lose under the 3-minute mark, and we just came across and just decided to give those guys a rest. And we had back-to-back ones there that we would have lost under the 3-minute mark, and just thought we could use the extra energy push.
Generally, you try not to ask a question that where you say we, and you try not to say talk about, because talk about's not a question. It's just talk about. Tim, talk about that last play. What happened on that last play?
Well, here's one of the things. Now, they did have a timeout. They elected not to use it after the Cousins offensive foul. Okay?
You wish they would have?
Yeah, I do, and I'll tell you why. Because if you're going to go ISO with Kawhi Leonard, the one thing you can dictate is where he catches it. Because here's what happens. You take a look at Klay Thompson. He's playing on the high side of Kawhi Leonard, who wants to pop out in a perfect world, probably somewhere in this area. But instead, because of Klay being on top of him, he has to come all the way out here. So the fact that you don't call timeout to dictate that you can set something up to let him catch the ball maybe at 19, 20 feet. So instead, I mean, look where he starts this off at. He's almost at half court. Klay Thompson's obviously up, not going to allow a pull-up three. And here's what else it does. It allows Andre Iguodala to stand back here and have all this space and time to read this play. Now, his man, Kyle Lowry's clearing out. Iggy could care less about that. He's worried about one thing, and it's where is Kawhi Leonard going to go with this dribble. So as he starts to go, you see Iggy in center field, goes right there. I think this right here, this trap, I think Kawhi Leonard makes the right play. You've got to give the ball up, so you're going to see Van Vliet's going to circle up, and that ball is going to get swung. I want you to look at one other thing, though, on this. When I watch it the second time, look what Draymond Green is. He's on the bottom of Marc Gasol, and it's really, really important that he get to the high side of him.
Why?
I'll tell you why right now. On the closeout on Kyle Lowry, because Draymond Green has worked himself to the top spot, when this ball gets swung, he is now going to close out on the shooting hand side of Kyle Lowry. If he had been on the baseline, which some guys would, you get pinned down here, you're closing out on the opposite from the shooting hand because this is Kyle Lowry's right hand. So just that subtle thing allows Draymond Green to close out on top. And now, as you can see, when this shot goes up, it is hand on hand. And nothing bothers a shooter more than flying over the top of the ball and over the top of his head. We're not sure still if he got a piece of this or not. But the fact that he closed that hard on the shooting side, I'm telling you as a shooter, guys closing on me on that side and flies by with his hand over the top, that's going to bother me more than anything. Even hitting my elbow, hit me in the chin if you want to. You come flying over the top of the basketball, that's going to bother a shooter. So a lot of things went right for Golden State in that last possession. Great read, great IQ. Toronto not calling a timeout there, didn't let Kawhi start to play in a better spot.
Bob Myers' press conference in tears talking about Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, who just moments ago was with us. It's obvious just how heavy this injury is that Durant suffered. I'm just curious your reaction to their reaction.
Well, we were sitting here when they were showing Bob Myers at home on TV, and we kind of both looked at each other. I don't know that I've ever seen that before. Have you ever seen an executive, like in that situation, be that emotional? It's very surprising to me to watch Bob Myers.
And on one level, like you're trying to, like the source of it, you understand, like the guy went through everything to be back out there, and if you want to blame somebody, blame me, and he was cleared. But then, like, I mean, it's clear to Steph how much that's weighing on their group. And I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, they just won, and they won remarkably, I thought.
Yeah, it's such a strange emotion right there because they should be feeling exactly the opposite. They saved their season, potentially have another shot here to add to what this dynasty has been over the last 5 years.
Right.
They got another shot. They lived to see another day on Thursday, but like the humanity of what they were dealing with this guy that not only is one of the all-time great players, but, you know, a guy that they've come to love over the years, and that's where they are mentally right after a game that's that emotional to close out in that fashion on the road. Very strange mix of emotions right there. And I think for Bob Myers, you know, that was coming from a place of ultimately he gets cleared from somewhere. and he played, and we all were wondering what were we going to see, look good early. But obviously, that thing wasn't ready. And the thing, you and I talked about this in the green room, you don't know until you have to go and exert it, right? You don't know. All the dry run workouts you want to do, you really don't know until you have to go hard, whether it's defensively or making an offensive move like that. And the first time he really did it, because he was measuring himself early in the game.
Sure.
He finally went hard. I'm going to go at a guy now. I'm starting to feel pretty good.
That's when it gave.
First plant, it goes. So clearly it wasn't ready, even though everybody associated with the organization thought that it was.
Tim, thanks. Boogie Cousins, a guy that obviously knows something. He come back. Could he help the Warriors dig out of this 3-1 hole? He went down with this injury. You see, initially both Warriors and Raptors players are reacting to the fans who were, in some cases, cheering, at least initially. Afterwards, Boogie Cousins with some thoughts on anyone that would have doubted Durant.
If anyone watched the last 3 years of basketball, you saw this man was the Finals MVP back-to-back. So all that, those talking heads who say we're better without him, that's just ludicrous. Like, that's crazy. This is the best player in the world. You could put him on the 30th best team in the league, and that team will make the playoffs. That's how talented he is. So we don't even pay any of that no mind, because with him, we are really I believe, one of the greatest teams to ever play. Without him, we're a really good team, but you throw Kevin Durant out there, like I said before, one of the greatest ever. So we don't pay that any attention, because that's just stupid. Stupid, because he's a warrior. You saw what he did tonight. He sacrificed his health for us. And we dearly miss him. I mean, I was very deflated to see him go out. I'm just going to pray for the guy, and I know he'll be back even stronger.
Rachel Nichols joins us now, host of The Jump. And Rachel, from the moment Steve Kerr sat down and talked about it, and Bob Myers sat down and talked about it, and we showed that here to our audience, and then Steph sat down with me, these guys just won a game miraculously, and they're wrecked. You were with them afterwards. How do you best sort of paint the picture for the folks that maybe we haven't heard from or seen yet?
Yeah, no, I mean, so emotional in that locker room afterward, because they do realize they just gutted out a crazy win. And yes, they do feel like, maybe they have a little foothold in this series. Draymond Green said to me afterward, the pressure's on them now. The pressure of the next two games is on them. I don't know if that's true. It's still the Warriors that are down in this series 3-2, but they do feel that they've sort of found something here. That being said, they're all so upset about Kevin. You could hear it in those comments you just played. Steph Curry, when I played him what Bob Myers said at the podium on my phone just because he wanted to see it, he started crying and couldn't finish talking to me and had to go find Bob, and did find Bob and gave him a hug. I walked out of the building with Steve Kerr, and Scott, I mean, he just kept saying to me, he's like, the doctors told us that he couldn't get more hurt by coming back, that he had cleared that hurdle. And he just kind of kept saying that over and over again. And I think that's the pain you see on someone like his face, Bob Myers' face. They feel responsible for this situation, even though, of course, no human's responsible for an injury happening to someone else. They do feel like, but we thought this, and that's why we made that decision, and then this other thing happened, and you can see it's going to be a very long flight home for them. Yeah, it was really amazing. I mean, Steph sat down. He's been on this show a ton throughout this playoff run. I mean, they won, and it was clear the tears were still very much in his eyes. But you know what? They honored their teammate the best way could. They earned the right to go home and play again and play for him and play for their city. Rachel, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, all right? Thank you. All right, you can't overstate what Durant is in the finals. And I know we've got that stat about regular season, what they are with, what they are without. I mean, with Durant in the finals, they've lost once. Without him, they've lost 9 times. And now they got to win a couple more. And on Instagram, you see what has been posted. I'm hurting deep in the soul right now. I can't lie, but saying my brothers get this win was like taking a shot at tequila. I got a new life. Hashtag is Dubs. That's, by the way, that's Kevin Durant on the gram. I'm not on the grams.